So, hi, good evening. My name is Mike, and tonight I want to talk a bit about Java. As we all know, they are the same language, just second of them has scripts. That's obviously a joke. However, what I want to say tonight, I believe it's quite universal among all programming languages, and I think even beyond programming itself. So for the bit of context, I'm a front-end engineer and I've been in the industry for a few years at this point. I'm not a senior yet. However, I've managed to break production already a few times, so I'm getting a hang of it. At some point during this time, I was asked by a few of my friends whether I could help them learn programming. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I thought that's already know the fundamentals, so there should be no problem with that. Well, I wasn't fully right, because almost till the end of my speech, I'll be talking about how wrong I was. So what teaching others taught me? Number one is that teaching others is actually harder than you may think. And it's due to the fascinating reason I had no idea about. It's that they are not me. And they don't see my thoughts. They don't share my experience. They then don't have the thing I'm talking about already associated in your mind with multiple other things. So for me to explain something, I had to kind of change my perspective a little bit and to see it a bit through their eyes to do this. And this perspective actually leads to something even more surprising, because you find gaps in your own knowledge. And I cannot even emphasize how many times while I was preparing for lessons, I found something I had no idea about, or I found something that I was doing wrong for the whole time. There is a saying that goes, if you can't explain something to someone, you don't understand it yourself. And I believe it's very true, even though it sadly means that sometimes I don't understand some things myself. Because at some point we reached the moment when I had to explain how event loop works. So naturally, for me the only logical way for me to prepare for that lesson was to watch someone else's tutorial. That's a bit of a joke. However, it's also kind of true, because when you go back to some things, you're kind of forced to fill those gaps as you have. And I believe this whole process can be summed up pretty well with an image. That we are in this together with the students. Alongside those technical skills, you also improve something, I believe, even more valuable, because you improve your communication skills significantly. And it's due to the fact that you have to explain complex topics in simple words, because you cannot really use all this jargon you would normally use, because it makes no sense, they won't understand it. So this standalone is, I think, quite useful skill in life, especially if you talk to clients on a day-to-day basis. Secondly, you improve your feedback skills also dramatically, because you have to give it quite regularly. You learn that it cannot be too harsh because you don't want someone to be discouraged, but you also learn that it has to be constructive for someone to actually grow. And where grow actually brings us to the last thing I want to say, although I think not the least important one, is that you actually help someone grow. If you share a part of your knowledge, if you share part of expertise, and if you give a bit of guidance, you may really help someone. And I mean, really, for you, it may be very small, but for someone, it may be huge. So with this whole process, you help them build confidence. They are getting better and better and better and better. And at some points, if you do it right, you let them go. Because the role of a mentor is to become redundant at some point. That's obviously a bit oversimplified, but that's kind of the essence. At least that's how I see it. And after all that, you notice one more thing. And this is a thing about yourself, because you see that you've grown with them. And as a final thing tonight, in my speech, I want to say that seeing that you really help someone come closer to their goals and come closer to achieving the dreams is a feeling that cannot really be described and can only be felt. Thank you very much.
Michał, thank you very much for this presentation. Do you have any questions to Michał? No questions.
What is your approach?
Sorry, that people from the streaming also hear it.
What is your approach to teaching people technical skills? Briefly.
I remember when I was starting with someone who was like, say, at the level 0, so there was no, let's say, no knowledge about, because I had like different kind of like people with different kind of levels. So I try to explain at the beginning how programming works in general, without getting into much detail like of the particular language. So like in general, like I remember I used I think the tool called code blocks. I don't remember that you basically you put you create the algorithm out of blocks, and so someone can see it. So that was the beginning, and I try to, let's say, every single step, try to make sure that they understand it. And when I saw that someone understands it on the, say, this blocks schemas, let's say, we were moving to the code itself. I don't think I have enough time to answer fully to that question. However, I try to make sure that I'm not rushing too fast, I believe.
Thank you very much again. We applause to Michał. Thank you very much.